problem is that many of them are people without education. They don't attend school, and when you are illiterate, you cannot find a job. You remain trapped down in the ghetto, and you're subordinate to gypsy barons. The thing is that this population learned very well that it has its own rights, but it forgot that it has its own obligations. You cannot use the argument, I am a Roma and that's why I'm not paying my electricity bills. The thing is that this population disintegrated from society. The other problem is that as a result of the lack of education and lack of work, they are into beggary, prostitution, and they're outside the normal rhythm of a normal society. At least on the territory of Bulgaria, the results are insignificant because this is money mostly spent on fora, talking about Roma integration, publication of different leaflets and propaganda materials, but very little is spent on the education of these people or training these people to have professions, for example. So the money spent over the past 10 years during the so-called decade of Roma inclusion has almost zero effect. I think there is only one solution and practice shows it. Those people from the Roma ghetto who have education, let's say basic or secondary education, they go out of the ghetto themselves. And all these programs involving housing and dwellings should mobilize also Roma labor. And the most important thing is that representatives of the Roma ethnic group should be explained very clearly that the law is equal for everybody, because being poor or having no job is not an excuse if you commit crimes. Equality before the law, education and labor, this is the solution. The thing is, Europe has to reconsider its policy on Roma integration. Fora and congresses talking about what to do in policy are useless. We need actual actions. This is a process that will take not 1 or 2 years. If we speak less and we act more, we'll solve the problem sooner. It not only discriminates Bulgarians, it totally denies that there are Bulgarians in Macedonia. This happens by falsifying history in history textbooks and throughout their educational system. They destroy Bulgarian cultural heritage, their churches and signs in Bulgarian. And in Macedonia there is no problem if you say you are Albanian, Bosniak or even Eskimo. But if you say that you are Bulgarian, then this is a problem. The government considers those who say they are Bulgarians as enemies. I think that for the past 10 years the government in Macedonia has not shown any willingness to be part of the European political system. And when you want to integrate in the European Union, at least you have to observe the rules valid in the European Union. And when you create problems with your neighbors who are part of the European Union, then you don't help that solve that problem, but you deepen the problem. We cannot help them from Sofia if in Skopje they don't want to integrate in the European Union. Judging by the trends across Europe in other countries, this flow of refugees will increase. In fact, yes, I support quotas, because Bulgaria, in its current economic situation, has about 15 or 20,000 illegal immigrants here. And Bulgaria has no financial resources to accept more people. It doesn't have. And if we want to end the inflow of illegal immigrants who come mostly from the Middle East, we should establish peace in the Middle East itself. As long as there are wars, there will be refugees. And along with the refugees, there will be people coming here, not because they are threatened in their own country, but because they have their own political mission. The so-called Islamic State have infiltrated their own people in all those groups of refugees who come to Europe, not to work, but perhaps with the crazy idea to turn Europe in a new caliphate. This is exporting terrorism, and we should be very cautious. For the time being, the Salafi are not a threat to the state because they're a very marginal presence and influence. But for the past 10 or 15 years, they've been trying to infiltrate in the Muslim community, not only in traditional Muslims, but also in Roma communities. These Roma communities are ready to be Christian one day and then Islam, Muslims on the other day for money. For instance, the imam you met in the Roma community in Pazarjic, before he became an imam, a Muslim imam, and before he preached jihad, he was a Protestant pastor before that. There is evidence that there are financial resources distributed. If you oblige your wife to wear burqa, just like in Saudi Arabia, you receive 100 euros a month. On YouTube, you can see videos made by those people. In the same gypsy community in Pazarjic, you will see people wearing clothes as if we are in the Punjab state. This has never been typical of Muslims in Bulgaria. Later, it turned out that some of these people received financial resources to do that. But it is a fact that the Turkish party officially defended them. This is a very dangerous behavior of a party which claims to be secular and liberal. The leader of that party at the National Assembly officially said that the case against the imams was a case against the Islam in Bulgaria. And there is another interesting fact. The poor imams hired as lawyers the most expensive lawyers in Bulgaria. And the question is, who pays the bill? You can imagine this doesn't happen with donations. It is a fact that many radical organizations and foundations pour a lot of money in Bulgaria. There is a very simple scheme. They register NGOs. These NGOs receive financing from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, and other countries. And afterwards, this funding is distributed to Bulgaria and other European countries. Afterwards, when the Bulgarian authorities carry out an inspection, these people here say that they received financing from European foundations, but the original source of the financing was Saudi Arabia and the other countries.